Welcome to the Disability Channel. I'm Jay Stoyan. You're watching our flagship show called The Today Show, where we showcase all four corners of the earth, but mostly North America. So you may see a story in LA, in New York, in Nova Scotia, British Columbia, or here in Toronto, where our head office is, downtown Toronto. Christy and Blue, we're in a wonderful establishment called Artscape, part of Witchwood Barns, which was originally a TDC depot, now turned into an accessibility platform and a disabilities channel home. We're here at a 2,000 square foot space. You can see it's a working studio. The show showcases positive stories, success stories, our employment programs, our participants, everything from our TV shows to our online savviness, I guess you want to call it, to our programs. But today, we are going to focus on our accessible media and two participants. On the show today, we have Fine. He's going to come on and tell us all about his experience within the programs, his interests. I know he's a music guy, so I'm very excited to see what he has going on with his band. And then we're going to have Josh Clemens on. Josh is a wonderful guy. He's a multi-talented, he's a MacGyver, and he's going to be actually joining the Today Show. So we're really excited. He has a savviness for news. He loves researching. So he's going to provide lots of great stories. But let's take a quick break. And when I come back, I'm just going to touch on a few highlights, what's going on in the world today. And then we're going to be bringing on our first guest from our accessible media programs. I'm Jay Stoyan. We'll be right back. So before we bring on Jake Fine, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the news. How crazy is Twitter these days? Wow, it is crazy, crazy, crazy. You know what? Let's say that. I can see Jake. He's biting at the chomp here. So Jake, welcome to the show today. We're really pleased that you had a time to come on today.
Hi, it's a real pleasure to be here.
That's great. So I know you're taking our accessible media courses, which is great. Before we get to that, if you don't mind sharing how you found the Disability Channel and your connection to the channel.
Yeah, so I was introduced to the Disability Channel through a good family friend. She knew that I was in an online program at the beginning of this year, and that didn't quite work out. So she introduced me to this program, and I tried out, and I did some research on it, and was very interested. So it was an exciting opportunity to find out about.
And how long have you been in the course now, Jake?
I have been in the course since September, and it is now December. So it's about 4 months.
That's great. And you can tell our viewers a little bit what you've learned, perhaps like that. You don't have to go in depth, but is there something that really sticks out in your mind that, wow, I really like this, or something like that?
So the program is mainly focusing on creating media that's basically helpful to understand for people who may have difficulties visually, auditory, or any kind of disability that may affect any kind of communications ability.
That's great.
Basically, to communicate information as clear as possible.
And do you have a goal? Do you have a sort of vision of where you'd like to take your new skill? Besides, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about your music interest, but besides that, is there anything else that you'd like to sort of say, oh, I want to take this skill and maybe do this if there's an opportunity?
Well, I'm hoping to be able to find work within the entertainment industry and try and figure out where exactly I fit in. I am a suitor of many hats. I try a lot of different medias. Like I did the paintings behind me, and I do music, and I sculpt, and I've done all sorts of crazy things. So I'm just trying to see where I can take these skills and where they can lead me.
Is that Kramer behind you?
It is the Kramer behind me.
Wow, that's you did that?
No, that I found, but these paintings I
okay,
made.
That's awesome. I know that picture. I know I'm a big Seinfeld fan, so that's great. And if you wouldn't mind, because I know a lot of times I ask people who join our program, if you could maybe describe a little bit about your disability, if that's okay. I mean, myself, I have an internal illness. I know a lot of people go, well, you don't look disabled, but you can have an internal illness and be disabled. So if you'd like to share, but if you don't, that's okay too.
Yes. So I have generalized anxiety disorder and ADHD. So it just makes learning things takes a lot more focus. Like a lot of the online stuff took a little bit more energy, and sometimes things aren't necessarily learned in the first lesson. I may have to revisit things, or I have to just continuously work at them. And the anxiety is just sort of another layer of just, this is like, oh, sometimes I have trouble in large crowds, or it's hard to understand what someone's trying to communicate, and it's just a little extra layer, but it's something that's helped shape me as a creative individual, and has inspired a lot of artistic and just work ethic.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know a lot of people go through, especially with COVID. With the last couple of years, there's been a lot of anxiety, a lot of not knowing, a lot of uncertainty. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And how do you sort of, like you said, I know you mentioned a little bit how you combat it. It takes just maybe a couple extra times to go through the process to sort of let it digest. But is there any other ways that you can share that help other people that you deal with your situation that you might want to share?
The best way I've learned things is repetition. Like learning a new song, repeating it over and over, learning a new skill, learning how to draw something new, learning line work, learning any sorts of these things is doing it over and over and over, sitting down, sitting away, looking back at it. Okay, this is what I did. How do I do it again? And then just continuously repeating it until you can start to find your flow into how to manage the new skill.
That's great, Jake. Well, really, thank you for sharing. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into your music career. I'm really excited to hear what you have going on. So stay tuned. We have our guest, Jake Fine, on. He's from our Accessible Media courses, and he's a musician. We're going to talk a little bit about what he's got going on in the city of Toronto. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the Today Show.
Hi there, Wendell Clark. You're watching the Disability Channel, showcasing their abilities. All the best.
Welcome back. On the show today, we have Jake Fine. He's a musician. He's part of our Accessible Media course. Jake, thanks for coming on today. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on with your music? And I got a ton of questions for you. So tell us your band, what your position is, how long you've been playing.
So yeah, I am in a band. We call ourselves Nothing Does because we've had a lot of trouble finding a name that we could all fit. So I jokingly said, what if we just called ourselves Nothing Does? And that's kind of been what we've stuck with for a while now. And right now we're pretty early on. We played a couple of shows and we're working on writing our first couple of singles. Our bassist Kixie, she has her own solo career and she's played a lot of shows. She's toured. She's even opened for Wheatus, which is a pretty big deal. And we're really happy to have her. And she's sort of been leading us in creating our first demos. And we've written a couple of songs. We're just sort of working out the sort of quirks and figuring out what exact kind of sound we want and how to mesh our sort of different ideas and different styles together. So it's been really exciting.
How many people in the band?
So the band was started as 4, and then we kept having cancellations with practices, and now we only have 3 people. And which I've learned, if you're going to start a band, you want 3 people, and if you can manage to keep your band as low as possible, it's the best way to do it because you can hear each other, and then it's just less people to depend on.
Well, power trio, plus the money doesn't have to go, when you get paid at gigs, doesn't have to go around to more than 3 people. You got Rush. I love the story of your band because I don't know if you knew, but the band kind of went the same, through the same scenario. They couldn't figure a name for their band, and everybody just says, "Oh, it's the band." So they call themselves the band, and guess who copied the Who? Because nobody knew who they were, so they kept on saying, "Guess who?" Like that's what they said, "Guess who?" And someone says, "Hey, that's what you should name your band, Guess Who?" So it's kind of like fits into what you're doing with your band. But you guys are songwriters too, eh?
I'm not as much. I've sort of been learning as we've been going, and I have a lot of ideas and a lot of visual ideas, but music writing is fairly new for me. So I'm still kind of learning how to do that, but I'm enjoying the process as we're going.
And you're the lead vocal, are you not?
I am lead vocals, although eventually we may find somebody else because I'm not really a singer per se. But once the other guitarist left, we were just kind of like, well, somebody has to do it. So we've all kind of traded, but I've mostly done the singing.
Nice. And you're a guitar player too.
Yes, I am.
And what's your genre? Or do you guys play a lot of everything, or what do you like to play? What type of music?
So my big inspirations, like for picking up guitar, was the White Stripes and Jack White. And
Okay.
he takes a lot from old blues and from punk rock. And I really wanted to delve into that. And then I started learning more Nirvana, and I'm starting to listen to Deftones and trying to expose myself to more of those alternative bands. And I'm hoping to create something that sort of delves into that sort of subgenre of like alternative, heavier sort of, in not metal per se, but
Yep.
punk, or trying to expose into heavier territories.
Well, I'm a Jack White fan. I love his hard punk rock. Like he's a hard punk rocker. I would sort of put him. He's a rock, a little bit of punk. So it's good that you're a musician, because obviously I'm a lot older than you, and I come from the world of live music, right? Like I love live music, and unfortunately, it seems to be, I don't know if it's a dying art among the new generation, but it's a hard work. Like if you want to be a musician, you got to practice. So that's really good that you talked about you do things repetitively over and over again, because as a musician, it's all about putting the hours in, right? 10,000 hours for that guitar player sort of thing, right? So that's
exactly
great.
how I learned guitar.
And do you have anything coming up, or is there anything you want to share with the band where your viewers can sort of tune in, or are you guys playing anywhere, or news you can share?
At the moment for our band, no, but I do believe my bassist is playing a show. I don't have it written down, but you can follow her on Instagram, Kixie. So Kick, and then SIE, Kixie. You can follow her, and she has a lot of shows coming up. She's also a really brilliant and talented songwriter, and she does a lot of performances in the city and throughout the province.
And if people want to find out more about you, Jake, or your band, is there anywhere they could go, a Facebook page or anything like that? Do you have?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Manic Panic Beatnik, or you can follow my Instagram. My band page is Instagram, Nothing Does. So it's Nothing Does and exclamation or nothing. It's Nothing Does Band, no spaces and no capitals. I'm just looking because I have them written down.
Well, that's great, Jake. I really appreciate being on today. When we come back, I'm going to make an announcement regarding Jake in our music show. So, Jake, thanks again for coming on today. Please keep us updated with your accessible media courses. Congratulations on that, and congratulations on your band. I'll let you get back to class. There you go.
Thank you so much.
So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to have on our second guest, who's also from the accessible media course. We're going to have Josh Clemens. Wonderful guy, lots to say, very talented. You're watching the Today Show. We'll be right back.
All about inclusion and really giving everyone a fair say.
Welcome to the Today Show. This is our flagship show. I am Unstoppable Tracy.
I am Zach Damon.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am excited. What is up?
We have a great show today.
Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel, the world's only inclusive channel for and by persons with disabilities.
Get ready to be inspired, everyone.
We have people watching from all over the world, but also all over Ontario.
We also take a concerted attention in the veterans community.
In moments of stress and trauma, we can get a hold of ourselves.
To help make a difference for people with disabilities, to show people how to love themselves or their disability.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys
having me, giving this platform for myself and other people with disabilities.
Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this episode of the Disability Channel of Detroit. Please tune in next time.
Welcome back to today's show. I'm Jay Stoyan. We're talking about our accessible media course. We're putting the spotlight on our participants, our success stories, and here's another success story we'd like to introduce. We'd like to introduce Josh Clemens to the stage. Josh, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Jay. I appreciate
This is great. This is great. I have to commend our teacher, Allie. We have such a great team. We have about, I don't know, like almost 20, maybe 20 participants. And I think like 19 of them are media savvy. So this is just wonderful. They all want to get involved as we're a knee-deep platform. We don't sit on the sidelines. You want to get involved. Here's a mic. Here's a pen. Here's a boom. Get involved. So we're really glad that Josh is involved today. So Josh, again, we like to tell our viewers, we're all part of the same club. I have an illness myself. So if it's okay, I'd like to have you explain how you found the Disability Channel and maybe express a little bit about your illness and then your thoughts on the program.
Sure. So to start off with, I have a physical disability. As a child, I contracted polio, and so I have some paralysis in my legs. So I have difficulty moving around, difficulty standing, difficulty carrying things. And so I was working with an organization here in Toronto for employment supports to try to help me find full-time employment. And as part of that, they hooked me up with the program with the Accessible Media Program. And so I've been going to this program, so like Jake said, since September, and we've been learning a lot about not only how to create content that is accessible for lots of different people, but also the kind of justification behind that, why it's important to appeal to these people, to make things accessible to these people, because they need to be participating in these conversations too.
That's great. That's great, Josh. Thank you for sharing about your illness, and thank you about sharing the program, what you're learning. How do you like the program so far? Give me your thoughts. How do you like, because you've been obviously same time as Jake, right? 3 months sort of thing?
Yeah, the program's been really good. There's a lot of information. It's funny, once you start talking about how to make things accessible, there's a lot of things to consider. And once you start considering those things, it opens up a lot of different ways to think about how to create content. So I've really appreciated that. And also we've been learning a lot of skills. Like right now we're working on how to create accessible PowerPoints, which is not something I've ever done before. So it's a big learning curve.
So you are actually learning a new skill. So that's good to hear. I really like to hear that.
Absolutely.
And it's actually, I've heard from a lot of our participants, a lot of our graduates, like, it's a very in-depth, there's a lot of information, but you actually learn. So when we've had people go for interviews and the person across the desk says, oh, can you show me how you do this? They show them and they're going, oh, wow. So you can actually you're an actual editor. Like, it's like they're almost shocked sometimes, the employer, like that our graduates go and blow them away in a meeting, like, wow, like you weren't just talking on your resume, you can actually do it. So I really thank you for sharing that. That's great. And
yeah, it's not a light course. It is a heavy course. It is a college level course. And so you're going to get that kind of learning from that course. So it's very dense and a lot of information. And I know it's going to be useful as I go forward trying to find good employment.
Well, speaking of that, I want to just go back a little bit when you mentioned about your illness and you mentioned about polio, because one of our biggest supporters from day one is the former Lieutenant Governor, David Onley, who also has polio. And he was the news guy on CP24 for, I don't know, year. You're a little young, but I remember him, and I remember having an illness, right? Mind you, I wasn't in a wheelchair, but when I used to see David Onley on TV, it kind of blew me away, because he was on TV, let's just say the 80s, right? Where it was still, it's not today, 35, 40 years ago. So to see David Onley doing the news in a wheelchair was really an anomaly. Like, it was really like, wow. So maybe there's a spot. And I have some good friends at CP24, Josh. So here we go. That's great.
I've got some experience with news, as you alluded to earlier, so you know, it's not completely out of the blue.
Speaking of that, why don't we take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit about your interests. I want your viewers to know a little bit what you like, you know, off camera, right? Let's talk a little bit maybe about what you like, and then we'll make our big announcement. So stay tuned. You're watching the Today Show. We're shining the spotlight on our accessible media participants. They're wonderful people doing wonderful things for the community. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Would you like to donate to our employment programs? Please follow the link below to donate through PayPal. All proceeds go to our programs.
Welcome back to the show. On the show today, we have from our accessible media course, we have Josh Clements. Josh, thanks for being on the show today. So what we'd like to do is make a big announcement of Josh, because he's like a research monster. He's a behind the scenes guy, and he's a reporter. He's a real in-depth guy. So we're going to be bringing Josh onto our flagship show, the Today Show, as a reporter. So he's going to be our correspondent every week. He's going to be coming on, telling us what's going on in the community, whether that's an accessibility event or a mainstream event or a success story. We're going to try and keep it positive, right? No negativity, but very informative, right? Very informative and maybe showcasing opportunities. I'm going to leave that to Josh. This is Josh's role. So you're going to be seeing him every week on a Today Show with about 1 minute to 2 minute clips, just telling us what's going on within the community. So Josh, congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
This is great.
I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share these kinds of stories.
This is great. So before I do let you go, do you want to share a little bit about your personal life? Like, well, getting too personal, like what you like, maybe your family, you know, some highlights of your career, just so people get to know you a little bit before they see you on camera next week.
Sure. So I'm a recent immigrant to Canada. I became a citizen back in September. And I'm originally from the United States. I grew up in North Carolina.
Oh.
I moved here to be with my wife, who's from Toronto. So I've been living here since 2011, became a permanent resident in 2014 and a citizen this year. So, you know, I've got lots of interest. I went to film school. I have a degree in film studies. I'm interested in film. I'm interested in learning about all kinds of things. And as you said, getting in depth with stuff. So, you know, this is a great fit for me and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that's great. Thanks for sharing. I didn't know you're from North Carolina. My brother lives in North Carolina. He lives in Moorhead or Moorhead Boulevard, somewhere around there. Boulevard, right on the ocean.
Moorhead City.
Moorhead City. There it is. Yeah, right there.
It's way out there.
Yeah.
It's way out. It's not a close to much of anything.
Yeah. So he lives down there right on the water. He loves it, and so that's it's interesting. So that's great. So you're an American living in Canada. How do you like it?
I love it here. I have healthcare here. I get to live in the big city. And I get to kind of do lots of big city things. You know, the largest city in North Carolina is Charlotte, and it's slightly larger than Hamilton.
Yeah.
So the population distribution is very different than it is in Ontario.
How about the weather?
Well, you know, the weather's pretty nice in North Carolina for 10 months out of the year. And it's pretty nice here for about 9 months out of the year. So I'm just trading which months are good and which months are bad.
Well, that's great, Josh. I really appreciate you coming on our show today. I really appreciate Jake coming on our show today. I'm going to let you go. When we come back, I'm just going to hit on some hot topics, just what's going on, you know, in society, in the world today. So you'll see Josh next week. So Josh, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Stay tuned and we'll be right back with the Today Show.
Hi, this is Dave Stevens with the Disability Channel.
An inability to break out. I'm sitting by the door on the second floor, losing my 7-year war. It's not an illusion, so why the exclusion?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's about you. So.
You say you're a disability dynamo.
Joining me and welcome to this beautiful Travelers Championship.
I only want one accolade from you.
So my story is unique, it's amazing,
but it's not anything that you guys don't have inside of you. I'm not a hero. I'm not anybody special. I'm just this guy without legs that went out, and I just did it.
That's our way, the Democrats, the diplomats, and the bureaucrats.
This is probably your first interview down on the ground on your butt and stuff like that?
First time ever,
All
baby.
right.
Eliminate and validate and validate and validate.
Stay with us and the Disability Channel.
Welcome back. So before we let you go, I just want to do some updates regarding what's going on with the channel, what's going on around the city in North America. So first of all, I mean, Elon's blowing up Twitter. It's like a circus all on its own, the fun show. It's like, oh my goodness, every day he's doing something. So you can just watch Twitter all day and have fun. The Leafs are playing tonight. Again, they are on a roll, the Leafs. Wow, like they're sucking everybody in again. You know, everybody's a Leaf fan. Everybody bleeds blue, and then come playoff time. But, you know, let's hope. They get those two Swede defensemen are amazing. Big tribute to Boris Salming, passed away over the last week. He was such an integral part of Toronto sports fans. Everybody had a number 21. He was top notch. So our hearts and prayers go out to Boris Salming, number 21, and his family. Stay tuned. We have a fundraiser coming. Fundraiser February 11th. We're going to be supporting the veterans. We are going to flood social media with all the details, all the updates. Join us. It's all about supporting the veterans. And we have V-Band that's going to be on stage, Freedom Train. Freedom Train, check these guys out if you haven't heard of them. They are the best cover band, I'm going to say, in Canada. They are crazy, and they pack the house. So February 11th is going to be a dinner, silent auction, raffle, door prizes, speeches, the band, dinner. Come on out, supporting the veterans, Burlington, Branch 60. We're going to have more information. Every day we're going to be updating, so get your tickets quick. It's going to be a sold-out event. I want to welcome NRG onto our platform. Mike Weiner, it's Network Referral Group out of the USA. We're going to be supporting their platform through media. Very exciting for their 400 plus members. So again, NRG, and actually the Disability Channel is going to be a guest speaker at their extravaganza this coming Friday, December 2nd. So you'll see me online across the nation in the United States, showcasing the Disability Channel and the opportunities we can provide for you. Again, NRG, thank you. You can check out all the information on our website, along with the company Synergy, the best waste management company in the world. Check these guys out. Synergy, you're going to be seeing on our dial. They're flooding us now. People are coming. We're banging on those doors. We've been banging on those doors since 2014 regarding our community. Since 2014, help our community, help persons with disabilities and veterans, right? And now they're coming. So this is great. We want to thank the Ontario government. We want to thank Doug Ford. He's an amazing guy. Always has our back. I'm going to leave it here. Next week, I'm going to do a feature on my illness, familial Mediterranean fever, and how I keep it at bay for the last 20 years. Hopefully, this will help others. So again, next week, we're going to do a feature on familial Mediterranean fever, which is an incurable illness, which I have. I want to thank for everybody. I want to thank our team. I want to thank Lewis. I have the number one. There he is. I have the number one production guy. This guy is super. I want to thank Lewis. I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Paul. I want to thank David. I want to thank Ali, our team down here, downtown Toronto. If you want to be a guest on a Disability Channel, if you want to rent our studio, if you want to volunteer, or if you want your own show, we can make it happen. You're watching the flagship show, the Today Show. I'm Jay Stoyan. We'll see you next time.